to you live from Wheelsy, South Carolina. It's the 10 Point Podcast. My name is Bruce, and my easygoing nature is getting sorely tested. With me on Family Fun Day this week, don't let him in your mouth, it's Chris. And he looks like something that fell off my dick during the war. It's Andy.
I knew I'd get that line.
Yes, once he said it, I thought it's obvious, but I've got to go for it. We are
I was
10
going to
point.
retort it back to you, but then I thought
Yeah.
I'll wait because you're going to say it at some point.
Yeah. Also, I never ever respond to whatever you say whenever I introduce you as well. I've noticed that on the podcast. It's like I've got a script and you haven't. We're the 10 Point Podcast. You can find us wherever you get podcasts. Hopefully, all three of us at the same audio level this week.
But if you do love the sound of Bruce's voice, it will put you to sleep next. So
Yeah.
loud.
People tell me that all the time. Yes, 10 Point Podcast. That is us. Search for 10 Point Podcast on the internet and you'll find one of the many places you can find us. All your podcast apps. Spotify is the main one I use for listening to the podcast, which you can also watch us on.
And you can leave reviews on Spotify now too.
Please, yes, review us on Spotify, review us on Apple, review us on YouTube.
And apparently 70% of our Spotify people now watch us.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Spotify. There's been an increase in watchers.
Yeah, I think it adds something. It can't take anything away. Like, if you like the listening to the podcast, watching us can only add a little bit extra. Like,
Exactly. You get to see what beers we drink. You get to see our little faces.
Yeah, when Chris disappears.
Panics.
Yeah. Just basically 10pointpodcast.com or Google 10 Point Podcast and you will find us. That's all the 10 Point Podcast needs. Normally we used to do a whole bunch of other stuff here, but we've got 10 Point Podcast news. That's usually on the same feeds, video wise and audio wise, so you probably listened to it already. So yeah, you can find the news where we talk about what we've watched in the last week and things like that. Generally me venting about something.
I know you took this season over as the ranting, whereas like the last few seasons it was me.
If they would make good things, I would praise them, but they're few and far between. I don't get to do it very often. Right, we should better crack on with our 10 points. Point number 1 on the 10 Point Podcast. What is the point? The point this week, 2006's sci-fi horror comedy Slither. Brought to us by, it did say Universal Pictures at the beginning, but I think they were just the distributor, so I'm not actually credited them here, but they came up at the beginning. Production companies, though. Gold Circle Films, a first for us, never done them before, because they basically do the big fat Greek wedding movies. There's more than two, apparently, and they do the Pitch Perfects, which I was definitely aware there was more than one Pitch Perfect. That's their mainly do those, and also
franchise.
I feel like it's maybe worth a look, the Pitch Perfects. Like, it doesn't look like my cup of tea, but they can't be bad if there's like 5 of them. There must be half decent ones.
Yeah, there's fucking 20 Halloweens. Half of them are bad.
Oh, there's some good ones in there. Also brought to us by Strike Entertainment. It looks like the first film they ever made was the film called The Rundown. However, we probably know it better as Welcome to the Jungle. Oh, yeah. One of the 2 films that The Rock has made. It's called Welcome to the Jungle. It looks like it was the first film they ever made, not long before they made Slither. Also made the Dawn of the Dead 2004 remake done by Zack Snyder, Children of Men, In Time, and then the RoboCop remake of 2014 that I forgot existed. So,
I think everybody did.
Yeah, strange collection of films from Strike Entertainment. There are 2 main production companies on Slither, written and directed by James Gunn, heavily involved in the producing as well. He seems to have made his name initially making kind of trauma-style horrible B-movie horror movies in the late 80s, which is obviously he transitioned into making a non-B-movie version in Slither. But in terms of Hollywood-wise, Scooby-Doo 1 and 2, he wrote the movies of 2002, 2004, were his big Hollywood credits.
I did not know that.
He wrote those too. They're his big writing credits that started off his career. He then wrote the Dawn of the Dead movie I just referenced, the Zack Snyder one. He wrote that. And then he got, obviously, greenlit to make Slither after the back end of the success of those. He then he wrote and directed the film Super, that Chris mentions kind of once a month on the podcast. And then most famously, writer and director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies 1, 2, and 3, which has not come out yet, and also the Christmas special that we'll see before we see the third one. He then transitioned from Marvel into DC, making the reasonably successful and fairly good Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad movie, one of the better DC outputs, and Peacemaker, which I cannot pass by without mentioning because Andy likes Peacemaker a lot. He created and then directed a bunch of that.
Oh.
I've seen one episode.
Oh my god!
Catch up on.
Get on Peacemaker, fucking hell.
But so James Gunn kind of comedy, not horror comedy, but kind of, I don't know, adult
Black
comedy,
comedy.
X-rated comedy.
Yeah.
That's not X-rated thing, but R-rated. That's
Well,
absolutely.
no, that's why he got booted off the Guardians of the Galaxy because of an X-rated comedy.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I think he was like a comedian as well. You could say it as well. So James Gunn, the man behind Slither. The film stars as Bill, our cop of the week that we usually have a police officer in films. Nathan Fillion made his name, and they'll tell me this if I don't say it. Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place,
Aye.
the TV series, and then went on to Firefly TV series and Serenity. Was his big film movie.
Let's go back a bit. Two Guys,
Alright.
a Girl, and a Pizza Place. What a series! Brought the two of the best Hollywood actors in the world to the big screen. Well, to the small screen, then they became the big screen.
Then to the big screen, yeah.
You've got Nathan Fillion, and then you have Ryan Reynolds. It's like,
How far did we get into the podcast without mentioning Ryan Reynolds this week? We got through the news earlier in the week without mentioning him. So yes, so Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. I knew Andy would mention it if I didn't, and also it was the first thing I recognised on Nathan Fillion's IMDb page, as it were. So that was before Slither, Serenity being the last one before Slither. He went on to be in, so you can let me know if I'm wrong in any of these or if I've missed any. The big things he was in: Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. Had to mention that after Chris was talking about Percy Jackson last week.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Second one, yeah. Castle, the television show.
Banger.
Roughly 1 million animated shows and video games,
I just watched
including.
Rick and Morty the other day with him.
There you go. Mainly Halo and mainly DC Comics, where he plays the Green Lantern. Seems to be.
Halo 3, I remember that. Like all the Firefly cast.
It was a Firefly reunion, that bad boy.
And then most recently, The Rookie, the television show he is the main star of. So that's Nathan Fillion, to the best of my knowledge. Have I missed anything?
Desperate Housewives, he's in that.
Right, it's a bit of Desperate Housewives as well.
That included a diet for a season.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
So mainly a TV guy, you would have to say at this point. He shows up basically in every James Gunn thing as well. So he is in the Suicide Squad and all that. But
he's in Guardians.
It isn't, yes. So James Gunn has his troupe of actors he likes to use, and Nathan Fillion is one of them. Co-starring as Starla. I think I've got that right. Is it Starla? Starla Grant. Elizabeth Banks. Famous for being in Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. Because really, that's the first time I ever saw her, I think, was being Betty Brant. Is that what you call her? The J. Jonah Jameson's secretary. She was in Seabiscuit. Her most famous role to me is in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. She just stood out so much in her role in that one. And then she was in Slither. That's around then. So after Slither, Zack and Miri make a porno. Role models. 4 of the Hunger Games movies. I'm not sure if that's all of them or not, but at least 4 of them. Lego Movie 1 and 2. A film called Love and Mercy she's partly famous for, but I can't say I'm familiar with it. And then most recently, she had a different direction with her career, being in 2017's Power Rangers and 2019's Charlie's Angels, both of which we shall say didn't do particularly well. She also directed Charlie's Angels and wrote it as well. And I've kind of completely forgot that film existed until I read it here.
And she's in Pitch Perfect as well.
She's in lots of the Pitch Perfect movies as well, showing up in those. Third, as Grant. For once, we've actually got someone who does have 2 names that are the same, not Jim, and not Lara from the Minority Report, but Grant.
I was googling the names and it said Grant. I was like, that's a fucking typo, surely.
Michael Rooker as Grant. First made his name in a film called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Seemed to have really broke his career out way back in the 80s. He was in Days of Thunder, Cliffhanger that I'd forgotten he was in.
That's what I remember him from.
Yeah, and The Bone Collector, were his big roles of the 90s. Then Slither, and after Slither, a selection of stuff. Jumper, that I'd forgotten he was in as well. Super, the aforementioned. He's a great character in 1 season and then returns in The Walking Dead, various bits and pieces he's in The Walking Dead, which is to me his main role, other than being in the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. He's Yondu in those, and then in the Suicide Squad as well, where he is basically the star of the first 15 minutes. Yes, Andy?
You missed him being the mall cop in Mallrats.
Right, yes, he's in Mallrats as well.
Yeah.
The Chocolate Club Pretzel.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's him. Yeah. So they are our 3 main stars. I did miss out poor old Tanya Saulnier. She was 3rd listed on the cast. She plays Kylie. Because she basically did nothing other than this, so I thought I wasn't going to spend too much time talking about her. But she technically is above Michael Rooker in the cast, but I'm not going to give her the credit. On a budget of $15 million, Slither opened in the US $4 million in its first weekend. Final US gross, $8 million. Final worldwide gross, $13 million. So it made a loss, not even including promotional materials, which I definitely remember seeing this poster places when
Yep.
Slither was coming out. So I think this movie probably lost a bunch of money, I would have to say. Released 31st of March 2006 in the United States, made it a month later.
They released it at the wrong time.
Yeah, released it a month later, April in the United Kingdom. Meant that's a very awkward time of year. I had to wait a whole year to be any awards ceremonies because that's like March, April's the end of award season. So 2007 so-called major award ceremonies did not get one nomination at anything like Oscars, BAFTA wise at all anywhere. However, 2007 Saturn Awards definitely came through as it always does with our tip-top movies. 2 nominations at Saturn Awards for Slither. Nominated for Best Makeup, it was the winner. It won Best Makeup at the Saturn Awards. And it nominated for Best Horror Film, it lost to The Descent, a film I'm not particularly familiar with, The Descent.
That's a pretty
Yeah,
good
me
film.
neither.
I'll tell you what, it's on
It's
somebody's
popped up a
list.
lot.
It's on someone's list, is it, The Descent? Okay. Of the films that were nominated that year for Best Horror Film, I think The Descent is the one I'm least familiar with, so I was actually surprised to see that it won. There were I think Saw 3 was on there, and another couple of other good ones. Saw 3 not necessarily a great film, but yes, it did not win that. On to the synopsis for Slither then, and I have a choice. You get to vote this week. I have one by Nick, and I have one by Claudio from Real Edition.
Oh, no.
We haven't had Source Nick for a while.
Yeah,
We'll go for Nick.
Nick.
I was going to opt for Nick, but I thought I'll give you Claudio as an option if you want to. So Nick says about Slither, from the depths of the endless space, a flaming meteorite crashes into the dark woods of this sleepy town of Wheelsy, South Carolina.
You know, you
As
make
the as the scorched rock reveals its silent content, a baneful parasitic organism, a subtle alien invasion commences, and the war's unlucky first victim is the town's local businessman Grant. Little by little, as an internal change transforms Grant into an utterly hideous monstrosity, his wife Starla starts to feel that something's been eating at him the last few days. Now, before the unstoppable extraterrestrial attack, no one is safe, and to make matters worse, Grant's transformation is far from over yet. Who can stop the slithering army from outer space? He got to say the thing.
He needs to write for Hollywood.
Yeah. Nick does do a good synopsis. So that's what the film is about. Who picked it? It was Andy. Andy, why did you pick Slither?
Because we've not done Nathan Fillion, and I love Nathan Fillion, and I feel like James Gunn, we've not done him as a director, and I hate directors, so let's do this.
Did one that you liked. Had we seen it before, Chris? Because I had not.
Yes, I had.
You've never seen Slither, Jesus.
I'd never seen Slither. No, I mean it's not one.
Andy got me hooking it.
Yeah, I felt like it might be an X-Fest viewing this one, but
I would
maybe
100% think so.
a wee bit late in release date. But yeah, I didn't jump out at me as something that I had to see. Which channel would we normally find it on? Because I don't have an answer for this. I have no idea what you would find
I'd say
it on.
E4. Or Film 4, yeah.
E4 film, depending on if it was Halloween or not, I guess. Which version did we watch? Well, we all watched the same one because there only is one version, unless you are in India.
Oh,
India had its own version, which was turned into a U/A brackets PG rated film, where there were 25 edits. And when I say 25 edits, I don't mean we'll take out that one swear word and that counts as an edit. I mean, taking out all swearing was one edit. So there were 25 things changed about this film. Things like humans eating flesh was taking out of the film. Swearing, taking out the flesh. Scenes where a man and a woman in a bed together, i.e. Starla and Grant at the beginning, taken out of the film. I don't know how they had a film left.
That's amazing.
But yeah, 25 edits made it a PG version of this film in India. So I don't know what that looks
I'm gonna
like.
watch it and see what happens.
I also believe that the scene that's behind Chris on the video version, where the woman whose character name escapes at the moment grows to a gigantic size and splits in half, any showing of her splitting in half was taken out. So I don't know if it just cut to like the reaction of everybody. But yeah, 25 different cuts made it a PG rated film. So yeah, we watched the normal one that the rest of the world outside of India didn't get to see. On to point 2 then, the high points. What we thought the best bits and things were. Andy picked, so he gets to start us off.
Well, who doesn't love a massive meteor coming to Earth?
Sets it stall out early, doesn't it? It's like, right, here we go, extraterrestrial.
Yeah, and I also like the twist. Same with Evolution. Massive meteor coming to Earth. Inadvertently picked 2 films with massive meteors coming to Earth. Who knew? But it's like, oh, fucking hell, this thing's huge. And then when it finally lands, it's just a small little thing.
Yeah, it's a little rock. Yeah,
Yeah.
or like a ball.
I did like the start. It kind of sets it up, and it's straight away. It's got that kind of weird B movie feel about it.
Yeah, very much so.
And like it's and the classic cops behind a billboard, which is probably a movie trope that Chris will poo-poo later on, but I just like the idea of just him just checking the speeds of things.
It's totally what I would do. I was thinking this. If I was in this situation, I don't think I cast myself as him, but that's absolutely who I really should be, is just zapping things and then being like, 27 miles an hour. I'd have thought that would be nearer 31 miles. And then just like talking like that's exactly how I would be.
And then you just like when you're like watching, it's like, oh right, this meteor's going to hit right behind them and cause a massive explosion. It's like, boop, David noticed.
Yeah. And also, I had a feeling it was going to be about like the partnership. Like they're the 2 cops who are going to have to save the day, and basically one of them like gets turned into an alien quite quickly. And I think, doesn't he? I think he
Yeah,
does.
literally
Yeah.
not long after that.
Yeah, and it's mainly old. What's his name? Bill that we have to deal with. Any other early high points then?
Well, it's not really a high point, but I like the Predator references. Did you just notice, like, the white slug was clicking like a Predator?
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
later on, when they're grabbing the shotguns and stuff to go hunt for Grant, I'm just going to call him that from now on.
Grant, yeah.
That's a great name. Like, they had the music playing from the original
Music.
Predator.
The music's
Yeah.
what's still. I recognise that bit of music, and then I found
I
in my
never noticed
research
that, like, for the first few viewings. It blew my mind this time.
Yeah, put it this way, there's a lot of movie references, and I have kind of returned to one of my previous
Yeah.
things, which is compiling every reference, because it's so intense. Like this film is made that way with that kind of
Yeah.
love and care, is that it's supposed to reference all these different things. My early high points are a bit sparse, so I'm pretty much at the beginning of hunting season as my first high point. So I don't know if you've got anything early on before that.
I've just
But-
got like Michael Rooker. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like he is like genuinely anytime he's on screen, he is just like a proper. This guy's good,
He plays creepy really well. Or bad
does.
guy really well.
and like all the way through, it's like I went into this like Nathan Fillion fan, but it's like I'm drawn like Michael Rooker. He's like stealing this like screen anytime he's on it, but he is weirdly creepy towards Elizabeth Banks. It's
The
Yeah.
bit I've got is, I think it was after he's always been hit by the thing in the tummy. He's going to the thingy, just at the counter, just going meat,
oh.
and he buys a fucking truckload of meat.
Yeah, like-
Chantel said that one summer that's going to happen to me. It's just I'm going to come back with a load of meat to barbecue up, and she's going to be like, "Oh God, he's in a forest. He's got injected by an
You
alien."
can't get away with
Love
that
that.
nowadays because like wife would just get notifications and think, well, why the fuck have you spent $3,000 on meat
Yeah.
or the shop or something? So it's like a massive like truck full of it.
Yeah.
But the one thing that Michael Rooker does well is like they talk about it like all the other characters are like, how is he with like Elizabeth Banks? Like, and it's like normally like, well, because he's a good looking guy or whatever. It's like Michael Rooker's not, and it's like he is way bad above his average there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like one of these films is like, actually, no, this like what they're all saying is right. She should be with Nathan Fillion. which is how it should be.
Yeah.
She seems happy.
She
And,
does,
like she was trying to like stay with him during Behind You,
but she wouldn't put it out for the first 5 minutes of this film.
but
She wouldn't, but then also she planned the whole next morning. Like he'd
Yeah.
been I don't know, captured by parasites by this point, but she was gonna do a make good, and she was willing to, like an olive branch and all that, and they had a favorite song and she'd put that on and all that sort of stuff. And the photographs at the end are all around the room, like they looked happy. They looked like
yeah,
they had a
definitely.
relationship. So yeah, I think it was these small town people just picking on like local people. It happens
But
that way.
he does seem like to be the stud though, because he was going to go and bang that other person. Everybody just seems to want
Yeah,
to him.
I think he's got the money,
he
hasn't he?
stopped himself.
He did.
He
stop
did
himself.
again. He stopped himself. Yeah, he's got money. I think he's like a local businessman, according to Nick. So, and then he had a pool at the back of his house. So I think
He
he's
did. He has a nice
he's-
pool.
he's got a nice house actually. Now I think about it as well. I was saying that there's one room when she was running around. He was at the window. I think it was looking like a monster. The room just really reminded me of The Room in The Room, the film, the film The Room, with the red walls and the way the curtains were. I was like, God, it looks like. So yeah,
It used to name that film.
yeah, I've not put it in one of my references. I don't think that was intentional to reference The Room. So yeah, my first high point. I'll go on to it now. Let the hunt begin. So most of the town are at the hunting lodge, and the mayor's doing his big speech up on stage. We'll definitely get to the mayor, I'm sure. Meanwhile, Michael Rooker is basically, I don't know, assaulting a woman in her home and turning the alien I don't know. I
That
don't.
whole like gradual change in him from like the first like you see him get hit and then he's fine, then belly tentacles, it still freaked me out. Like
Yeah,
anything to do with the belly coming out gives me the heebs.
it's
But
a
then like
bit creepy with the. But I did like the cutting from one to the other. It was a well done bit of cinema. I enjoyed that. But then,
yeah.
again, I very much enjoyed the character of the mayor. Which pretty much goes on to my next high point, which is his rant at the police station once it starts kind of kicking off, and he's just complaining to everybody. I very much enjoyed. I will find his name here. I had it written down, but I've now lost it. Greg Henry
Yeah.
as the mayor. He was very good in this, and he has all the best lines. Basically, are his lines, and it's kind of
That's what
a
he says, it's cocksucker.
yeah, yeah. The he's like this unnecessary sort of, or no, this necessary evil that the good guys have to carry around with them until they don't anymore, and then they're all right. Well, there's our excuse to get rid of him, and they just get rid of him. But yeah, I very much enjoyed him.
I was remember this time that my like next high point is there's like the running squid joke in the police station
Yeah,
where it's just like they have a soft toy and then suddenly you just see Nathan Fillion doing his brief and it's all squids on the board.
yeah,
It's like they went to town on a squid joke, just carried on. And then when you finally actually see him, it's like looks nothing like a squid.
yeah.
He's changed since then.
I think it's that form to the one behind you. It was weird. Like his face just freaked, like the weird teeth and
Well, he has like
slivers.
like a big mouth on one side of his face.
Which I may as well like talk about. Like it won an award. The makeup on this thing, like you could tell that is Michael Rooker under all of that like prosthetics and everything, and it just looked proper practical effects just work.
Yeah.
And like even the CGI, like it's a bit dodgy at times, but because they're mixing it in with the practical, you can kind of forgive it.
Yeah.
And it just works. But yeah, the whole like it looked like the extra teeth looked real and they were oozing and he was still acting. You could just tell that's rather than just putting a big rubber mask on him.
Yeah, exactly. When the people were like joining onto him from outside, where it was quickly like the big practical, I don't know, backside of him, and the people were joining on, and then they were using the CGI basically to that looked good.
It was hard to tell the difference between when it
Yeah,
started. I think
literally.
Really
So I was wondering, like, are they doing it? Was he attached and they're doing it in reverse? Is that actually coming off of him? I was like, no, it must be actually CGIing and him joining on, him going forwards. But yeah, the effects are pretty good, especially for low budget. What we looked 15 years ago. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty good. I now have Grant in his slug form out in the field with the police after him. Where we can finally see what he can do that isn't just in I don't know
I
injecting
completely
people.
forgot all about that scene.
Yeah.
Like, I knew you seen him in a slug form, but I forgot about him like whipping some guy in half.
Yeah, cutting him
Because
in half the long way.
He just looks so slow and sluggish and all that. It's just like, oh, this guy's he's a sitting duck out here.
Yeah.
And suddenly, boom, he's actually fucking devastating.
He's deadly. Yeah. So again, the CGI not brilliant on the guy getting chopped in half, but I like the idea, and like you say, you can tell at that point he is a dangerous individual, not just a dangerous threat to civilization.
Purposely leads us to this next point.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
Discovery of Brenda.
Go on, Chris, take it.
I don't understand how you can get that big.
Just from eating as well seemed to be what it was as well. Well, not just.
I just like their bits, like pass me the possum.
Yeah.
And then the mayor's like, off he goes.
Like, her accent like seemed to change quite a lot. She got a proper like deep south when she was in that form. But she was like, pass me the possum, and then he's like, and then
it's not what I was anticipating. Like, and when she was like tied up in the barn and all that, I thought, all right, she's gonna basically, because obviously from the poster and all that, I could see it has the little kind of slug things. All right, she's gonna give birth to a whole bunch of these because there's not been any yet. It's just been the injecting and then the tentacles. So she's gonna give birth to them. So when we finally get to her, and she's like a 10-foot around ball.
And then she's like, these little fuckers are tearing me apart.
Yeah, which I'm not sure, like how, like what part of her is still attached to what inside there. Really, like, I can't really imagine what her insides look like anymore. But yeah, it might be one of the images I take away with you from this film is going to be the giant spherical woman in a barn.
Well, and then literally the split.
The split. Okay. And everyone just being covered in slugs, basically. And
that gives you the heaves. Like, our house is bad for getting like little slugs in the kitchen and stuff, and hate it.
Oh,
Oh no, like, there's just fine little gaps underneath the door stuff in this.
right.
I
Okay.
hate it.
I
But,
bet.
yeah, now I hate it even more. Like the idea of being like on the ground and covered mouth, but covered in slugs just gives me the bulk.
I just been more worried about. Okay, I cover my mouth, and they will not go in my mouth.
That's
It's
good
like,
on Maria.
yeah, I have other
Evolution style.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's like, oh god. So I've got straight away. My next high point is the scene straight away after that, where basically we get the family on the farm being invaded. I feel like this was the first real, for me, kind of horror movie part. Like other than that, it's like body horror and alien sci-fi and all that. But this was actually, we've got an unsuspecting woman in the bath. We've got kids who are trying to tuck up in bed and all that, and then you can see them coming in and all that. I very much enjoyed it. Like the actual horror movie, and then this is where a whole bunch of horror movie kind of suggestions and references were happening around about it as well, and people not being idiots, people defeating them. Obviously,
Yeah.
many of them didn't. When you think about it, that whole family's dead apart from the one surviving girl. But I enjoyed that particular scene.
It just
Oh,
shows you should always be naked in an alien invasion.
Right. I'm not sure I could cover all my orifices enough, but I was very much enjoyed having the idea of having a house where you can climb out of your window and there's like a full room outside that you can run around on. I enjoyed that little balcony. So if I ever live in a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, I'm going to build like
I just
an
like the little
arched terrace.
little slither of like the bathtub. Like that is the scene. Just the little.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because coming into this film, that's what I thought this film was it's going to be invasion of these slugs that obviously are going to
Yeah.
take over people and all that. But basically, it's just like, oh, I've got this one idea for the scene in the bath, and then other than that, it's mainly like Michael Rooker. It's
Yeah.
not much else. It's like a different bit of the film.
Which actually brings on to my like the scene that I actually liked is when she gets the alien in the mouth and she's like just trying to pull out like this constantly.
Yeah,
And
it's a
it-
good
and
little
it-
flash.
kind of
Yeah.
It's like this.
motion?
But yeah, she's pulling it out and then it like flips to like she can see the aliens and gets that future glimpse, which just helps elevate it. It's like they're a parasite. It's nice. It's a nice little touch. Quick scene.
Yeah, it kind of gives you. It's how our heroes find out what is going on, basically,
Yeah.
and it's a good way of doing it. That, oh, she was connected to the hive mind for a split second, and she can
Instead
see
of
everything.
having some random science guy be like, "This is what I think,"
Yeah.
and it'd be bang on the money. She's actually seen what happens.
That's as good as it saved them writing an inexplicable expert being in a small town in the middle of nowhere. It was quite good. Yeah. So yeah, that was a good bit of it. I only have one more high point. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty much. I'm at the end.
I'm at the finale, you would call it, behind Andy with Starla and Grant face to face
Yeah.
in the
Just
living room.
before that though is when the mayor turns thing, he gets turned and then he's like, "Shoot me, Bella Mills," without hesitation.
Yeah,
bang.
straight
Yeah,
away. Yeah.
bang.
Fucking hated you through the whole film.
I just loved it. I just love this whole end scene where like the grenade. It's like I'm waiting for this grenade use, and then the grenade fiasco is just brilliant. It's just like absolutely loved it.
I
I
had
forgot it.
in
I
my
knew he
low
had a
points.
grenade, and
Yeah.
the thing blew up, but I've missed the point in between it.
I'm the opposite of both of you, or I'm different from both of you guys. I had written in my low points from it being introduced Chekhov's grenade, written in my low points for the point of they really over the top were like, you know about this grenade, Chief? We've got this grenade that we could use, and I'm like, oh right, okay. So I thought the whole time like that grade's gonna come back in, and it's like I'm supposed to forget about it, and it's gonna save the day. But it's like they went a different direction with it. He had the grenade without making too much of an effort. Here's the grade you're supposed to remember, and then yeah, completely makes an arse of it, and it goes in the pool.
It was the longest fuse I've ever seen in my life. That went for like 10 seconds to pick it back up.
Well, fun fact: grenades can go from anywhere between 5 seconds to a minute. So
There you go.
it depends what the timer was set at.
Aye.
Off my crap.
Knowledge
Yeah.
bomb. But yes, I thought Elizabeth Banks was very good at the end with her kind of, I don't know, being nice to Grant, and also you couldn't quite tell, is it she actually saying that, or is she just saying that to try and kind of make good? And then she has the sharp implement, stabs him in the head, and that basically didn't really finish him off. And I had no idea what Nathan Fillion was doing with that tank. Like I was like, what is
Yeah.
that? Like, and then his tentacle sucking it up. I don't really know what's going on here. It's, right, okay, it was gas, and they got him in the end. So yeah, a fitting finale. I think it worked well that they got them, and it makes sense how they got them, and it's satisfying enough finish to it. So that's me with high points. Any others?
I actually do have one at the very end. I like a scene exactly. It's kind of that thing that happened in A Dog's Breakfast, where the final scene is just them walking the distance continuously, like 30-second shot of just walking. Like, I do like an end like that.
It always makes you think. It's like, what are the actors doing?
Exactly.
Halfway down, like, are they just chatting? Are they talking about not? And then what does the director say? Oh yeah, just walk for 3
Just keep
minutes
walking.
straight. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like-
Tell you when to stop.
yeah. Okay, that's high points over with. Better get on to point 3, which is the low points. What's the worst bits and things were about the film? Chris, you've got a wee grin on your face. Why don't you start with your low points?
I wasn't a fan at the start. Like the Meteor I find and then chit chat. It was the fast camera that was like somebody's getting chased or is chasing somebody through and it just stops at an egg.
And
It
it's
just goes to the egg.
it's basically. My assumption is it's done to make you think, oh, here's the creature running through the forest.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, it's just the creature being found, but by nobody, just by a cameraman. So it's like a twist, but also a twist that doesn't have a reveal. You know, like there's no. We weren't looking through someone's eyes. It's just how the film was showing you.
That Michael Rooker saw that,
Yeah.
landed, and then just followed the trail to what killed, well, eventually fingered them. But I just didn't like that shot for some reason.
I guess you've complained about zoomy shots in the past and funny camera work. You do kind of got on your soapbox about that. Any other low points?
I've got one major low point.
Okay.
Like, it's throughout the film. There's not enough Nathan Fillion in this film.
He's a weird sort of background hero, isn't he?
They feel like it's not focused on him at all. It's mostly about Elizabeth Banks. I mean, when you do get a bit of Nathan Fillion, Elizabeth Banks is right there as well. And then when you do get some Nathan Fillion alone time, that other woman's now with him. It's just like, I just want some Nathan Fillion alone time.
He's actually.
Oh, he froze again. He's gone again.
What?
Oh, he's still talking.
Freezing section.
Oh.
I'm going to keep talking
He's
and talking
back.
back. There we go. Is that the weekly freeze?
Yep.
Yeah.
The weekly freeze.
He's very good at being a hero who is, one, doesn't want to be a hero, and two, actually isn't capable to be a hero. He just sort of exists and carries on like a normal person in the film. Like,
and that's pretty much how he acts in everything he's in.
He's pretty much terrified of everything. He has ideas that don't pay off. He tries to do things that fail. He tries to do things that work. He's just an average bloke trying to save the day in a situation where he kind of lucks into saving the day. So it's unconventional, but I quite enjoyed him. And like, I feel like someone who would want to see more of him, like Andy, was disappointed didn't get enough of him. But I wasn't like, oh my god, I can't wait to see Nathan Fillion. So I was just like, oh yeah.
I think they kind of used him like sparingly enough. Like,
I want more.
It wasn't all just like filling you like, okay, he was a hero, blah blah blah. He's the anti-hero.
It's basically a kind of ensemble, but with just 4 people. Like the Nathan Fillion, Elizabeth Banks, Michael Rooker, and then Tanya Saulnier, the surviving girl of the family. They're basically the 4 main characters, and they all kind of equally share what's happening. They all have their own bits where they're the main person, or they're a supporting person, or they're not in it. They all kind of come in and out of it as it goes. So at this point, I need to mention I actually don't have any low points written down. Like the one point I wrote something down low points was old Chekhov's grenade, me thinking it was going to be coming back. But for the entire, what is it, 95-minute, 100-minute runtime, nothing made me be like, oh.
Mine aren't exactly low points, they're just like points that I want to just talk about.
Exactly.
It's padded all section.
Often I put questions in, it's like, why have they done this or why has that happened? But nothing like that even came up either.
I've got one semi-low point. It was almost made it in high point, but because I've had to mention low points, it doesn't hit a high point. Is I like the zombies, like as in when they're slithered or whatever you want to call them. However, there's not a consistent speed on them zombies. Sometimes they're really slow and like lethargic, like, oh look, he's getting out of the car really slowly. Grab them. The next time they're fucking full pelt through a forest.
Yeah.
Make up your mind on zombie speeds.
It is a lot of. It does seem like it's done a little bit of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, because there's like about 10 different things that it's an alien, so therefore it injects him, but then he doesn't inject someone else. He uses the tentacles, but then the tentacles just birth the slugs. And while this is happening, he's turning into a slug, and then he turns into like a horrible monster, and she turns into like it's about 20, and then zombies are happening as well, and it's like
the other bit that actually knocks me off in this film is the first zombie spews on the female officer. And it's like acid.
Yeah.
But then you see the mayor getting spewed on by about 8 of them, and then next scene he's just in the underground. It's like, can they change that acid spit to like?
Was that the mayor? I thought I was another guy.
I don't think it was the mayor, but I think it was someone else. But you're right though. They were going as they were just doing it, and then one of them tries to like spit vomit, I think, at Nathan Fillion, and he just rolls like a doormat and it
Yeah.
blocks it, and he just carries on like that. The acid didn't burn through a doormat. And all that. So, yeah, it is a little bit random, but I still feel like it coherently sticks together enough. It's like once
Oh,
they
yeah.
establish something, they kind of stick to it. It's like it just seems to change a lot, but then it's an alien organism. There's no rules to how an alien that hive mind takes over a planet. Like that's just how it happens in this one. So like I have no more to add in low points. So feel free to fire away, Chris, if you get any
That's
more.
not it. It's like I think like that brush that she eventually uses as a weapon. That's a fucking accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Like, pointing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, chucks that brush, bang through my eye. Oh, thanks for that. It's just like, oh, who has a brush that fucking pointy?
I don't. And for what purpose? I can't think of what function
Stabbing
it would
hair.
serve. Yeah, that's not, yeah. Maybe
Oh,
you can
yeah,
stick it
those-
in your hair. Yeah.
Hairdressers do that weird thing with the brush. Makes sense.
Maybe.
My final actual low point is this is a controversial one. It's not funny at all.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
It is more just
It's,
a horror film. Really.
yeah. If they just said this is a horror film, great. I would have been honest about like because it's got Nathan Fillion. He's quite a funny guy. Elizabeth Banks is known for her comedy. Even Michael Rooker. It's not funny. Like maybe the one or two lines in the film's funny, but it's not a comedy.
On the back of the DVD, do they classify it as a comedy, or is this just
On the
IMDb
back.
classifying it as a comedy?
IMDb classified it as a comedy.
Exactly. And IMDb are usually wrong on this kind of thing when they go action, horror, adventure. It's like, no, this is a fucking drama, you bell end.
The mayor character is comedy, but he's very much a background character, so
Yeah.
you could find that in many horror films. So yeah, it James Gunn himself, again, he is a funny guy and he directs comedies and writes comedies, but again, it's not necessarily written to be a comedy. It is very much, it's like a B movie, really, is what they made, and it's not to be taken too
Everywhere
seriously.
I've seen it, I don't know whether it says in the back. Seen it, but it's thinking it's like a comedy horror.
Well, basically, the giant fat round woman, that's funny. That's not
Yeah.
written to be serious. It's meant to be a funny thing as well. So there are some bits that are funny, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was rarely laughing, I'll say.
And it was meant to be a horror anyway. It's Spooky Spectacular month.
It is Spooky Month. Okay, that was for low points then. We better crack on. 2.4 on the podcast. The stats. 15 shits and 30 F-bombs. Quite a lot of swearing in this movie. 4 explosions. That was all Grant at the end. He exploded 4 different times. Deaths.
That grenade blew up.
Oh, it did. 5 explosions. The grenade blew
Yeah.
up in the pool. Grenade in the pool. Deaths. Now, I had this... I started counting. Okay, Michael Rooker's dead. Like that. So there's no... That went into his brain, zapped him, and then he's now something else. And then he carried on, and I'm like, he's still himself. Like, he's still Grant. So I'll leave that as one question mark. And then with the woman he impregnated, I was like, well, she's the same as him. So 2 question mark. And then she wasn't dead yet. And then she did definitely die. So I was like, okay, she's dead. But is Michael Rooker dead yet? And he just doesn't know it, sort of thing. So I just keeping track of it for ages. And I was like, right, okay, I'll count people who die, and I won't bother counting people who are just infected. Because in the end, we're going to be like, oh, everyone's okay again. Nope, everybody who was infected with alienness dies in this film. So I had to basically go back and work out how many it was. So I think about 121. So that's deaths that happened on screen, people who I saw being infected, plus all the dead bodies who were lying at the end. Because I think they were all different people. But
what about planet genocide? Like that guy definitely like wiped out entire civilizations.
Yeah, I think that had happened when we saw it there. So maybe this could be definitely Starship Troopers numbers. This could be a record breaker if you're including all the other planets.
That wiped out Earth. Well, not Earth, like a whole side of Earth and another planet.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, this one may have been many planets. We don't know. But yeah, anyway, 121 on-screen either deaths or dead on screen. Quotas. Cows. There were 3. We had the cows returned to this one. 1 was implied to have already been killed that we never saw, but there were 3. 1 got a close-up as well, cow. No goats, though. Dead animals. Dogs, cats, coyotes, cows, a horse, and a possum. So many dead animals. No pedos, although some implications about how Grant's relationship started with Starla seem that she may have been quite young when the relationship started. The devil was not there, and no KKKs or Nazis. We're on a streak with not having any of them present. Tom Cruise trifecta. Nathan Fillion runs and seems like he gets the girl at the end.
Yeah.
I would say, but again, no motorbike. We need to get some films on motorbikes. That's always missing in the trifecta. Did they say the thing? Did they say Slither?
No.
No.
No, I don't think they did. Never jumped out at me that they said it, and I don't remember everyone referencing. And I've got one more. Did they say the thing? Did they say the thing? Meat.
Yes.
Oh,
They said,
that is
they said
like a beat.
29 individual times meat was
Meat.
said. Not all by Michael Rooker, because like the zombies were all saying meat as well. But I got 29 meats in amongst this. Chris, any stats from you?
Only 4 different things slither. Like I wasn't going to count every individual red things, but there was the original white slug. Then there was all the red things. Then the girl when she falls out the bath,
Yeah.
he kind of slithers along a little bit. And then finally Grant, but after he splits that guy, slithers away.
It does, yeah. Very
4
good.
different things slither.
I was also going to count slithers as well, and I was like, that's not really slithering, that's just moving. And then when she burst and a million of them came out, I thought, nope, delete that. I'm not counting slithering.
There's no way to count every individual one.
Yeah.
The different things.
Okie dokie then. That's us for stats, which moves on to point 5, which is the 10-point podcast quiz. Andy, what have you got for us?
Right, originally I had a great idea, and it was basically what Chris was talking was, the original idea was, does it slither? But
Well,
I
that's
decided against that, so I've came up with a banging quiz called Till Death Do Us Part.
Okay.
So it's a quiz about married couples
Mhm.
from all previous podcast films.
Right.
And there's a bonus points within this, so we'll go back and forth. Just so I'll go Bruce, Chris. But at any time when I'm saying the question, you can shout out "Till death do us part" if that married couple that I'm talking about dies, and you will get 2 points. But if you call it out and you get it wrong, you lose 2 points.
Right.
But then there's just a normal question on top of it, so you got to be on your game. And also,
So-
if it's not for you, so if I'm saying a question to Chris and I get halfway through, you're open to say "Till death do us part," Bruce,
Right.
to
Okay.
claim 2 bonus points.
Okay. And it's both
What
members of the
brains.
couple. Both
Yes.
members dead. Right. Okay.
Well, no, just one person dies.
At least
Within it.
one of them, because
One-
someone dies.
Someone
They
dies
part.
in this couple that I'm talking about. Yes.
Right. Okay. Cool.
You'll get the hang of it, and if we get to the end of the question when I'm about to move on, I'll say you missed one.
Missed that they. Right. Okay.
So who wants to go first? Because Chris looks confused to fuck.
I'll go first.
Right. Okay.
Right, Chris is going first. Remember it, Bruce. You can jump in at any time.
Anytime.
To shout it.
As long as you're reading the question. Once you reach the question mark, we can't say it anymore.
I
Is
think
that-
I
is
can
that-
stop you halfway through the question as well, just to say.
Yeah, you can. Like I said, if I get halfway through the question, you could shout it as well,
Right.
and then you'll claim the 2 points. I'll finish the question off, and then you can answer your normal question.
Right. I see.
But if you get it wrong, you lose 2 points.
Right. Okay.
This could be minus 100.
I'm going to do some scorekeeping here. This is going to be tough. Right.
Right. So, question 1. Who is Jim Gordon married to in Batman Begins?
This is Gordon.
No, Mrs. Gordon does not count, so that will get thrown over to Bruce.
I don't know the name of his wife, but there's definitely. I think it might be his daughter's name. So I'm just going to gamble and say Barbara Gordon.
It is Barbara Gordon.
Hey.
Yes. So one to thingy.
And neither of them
Yeah,
died,
they
I believe. So
No, none of them died.
none of them
So
died. Cool.
Right. Question 2. In City Slickers, who is Arlene married to?
In City Slickers, who is Arlene? Oh, what's his name? Phil.
It is Phil. Yes.
Yeah.
Chris. Frank marries Marissa in which one of our previous picks from this season?
Ah. So can I do from Death
Till
to Us
death do us
Part?
apart.
Can I say Till Death do Us Part, whatever it's called?
You
Is
could
that-
say it.
Okay, well that was me saying it. So
You said it, yes.
yeah. Okay. Oh,
Right.
so I think one of them dies. Yeah.
Right, you said right, but right, so that's kind of hold that there.
Yeah.
Chris,
Okay.
What's the film?
I can't remember any of the films we've just done.
Oh, actually, that wasn't this season. Oops.
No, it was. You even said it was a season. I can't. No.
Right,
I don't know.
right. The main question gets thrown over to Bruce. What do you think the film is, Bruce?
If you said it was this season, I'm wrong, but I thought it was 28 days later.
It is not 28 Days Later. It was Old
Oh,
School.
no,
Oh, it was. I nearly then died.
And
Damn.
Bruce loses 2 points.
Damn, I'm back on 0 again.
Right.
Fuck you got up.
Because Brendan Gleeson was called Frank in 28 Days Later.
Yeah, I know.
and
Easy
his
fact.
wife
That
was
like,
dead.
easy.
Damn.
Right. For Bruce.
My question. Yeah.
Right. Who is Lottie Schwartz married to in being John Malkovich? I'm not going to count Chris getting panicky there. So you
Shouting
can
kill.
say it.
Lottie Schwartz is married to Kevin Spacey's character, whose surname is also Schwartz.
Yeah. I just need the first name for the point.
Technically, she might also be married to Catherine Keener at the end. We don't actually know. But, what's his name? Charles. I think that's the guy made Peanuts.
Nope, Chris.
Charles Schwartz.
First of all, you got the wrong actor. It was John Cusack, not Kevin.
Oh, John Cusack, not Kevin Spacey. Anyway,
It's Craig Schwartz.
Craig, that was it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Chris gets the point. Where is it, Chris?
Technically, he might be dead. I don't know.
It's not, so it's fine.
He's not. His conscience is still alive. Yeah.
Right, Chris. In Braveheart,
Till
who
death
does
do us
this
part.
Bruce,
Till death do us part. One of them death. I
I
don't care
Bruce,
what wedding
Bruce
it is.
did. Right. Chris, I'll finish the question. In Braveheart, who does William Wallace marry in secret? Yes, moron.
Maroon's
Yeah.
moon-kissed titty stands with sticks with me from last
And
season.
Chris, Bruce gets the extra 2 bonus points because somebody
Back
does
to where
die
I
in that.
was. Back to where I was.
Bruce, which movie would you find Connor and Heather in?
Till death do us part.
Chris gets that.
Right. It's Highlander.
It's Highlander, yes. See?
I get a point. Is Chris correct?
Chris is correct. She
Right.
does die. Right. I'm so lost with
Chris's
this.
question. It's Chris's question.
Chris's question. Who does marry eventually? Who does marry eventually marry in Harry Met Sally?
What?
Marie.
Who does Marie eventually
Eventually
marry
in Harry Met Sally?
Frank Bruno's character. I can't remember what it's called. Frank Bruno.
Bruno Kirby. Yeah.
Bruno Kirby, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
I can't remember his name either.
Nobody knows.
I can't.
Basically, it's to you.
Danny or something like that. I can't remember his name.
Jess.
Jess. Right. Okay.
Right, Bruce. Nick and Amy Doon are a married couple in which film?
Gone Girl.
It is Gone Girl. Chris, what is the name of John McClane's wife in Die Hard?
Till death do us part. I fucking knew it. I still lost the 2 points.
I'll take Chris's points off for that.
Chris definitely gets 2 points off, but can he redeem 1 point by getting the name right? It's going to get thrown over. 3, 2, 1. Gets thrown over to Bruce.
It's Holly, is it?
It is Holly,
Holly.
and she is still alive.
It's currently it's now 5-1 to me.
Right, got a couple more. Bruce, where am I? Dr. Eve Archer is the wife of which character in Face Off?
Well, Detective Archer. Sean Archer.
It is Sean Archer,
Yeah.
yes. Chris, what is the surname of the newlyweds Grace and Alex in Ready or Not?
Till death do us part.
Chris, yes, you got that.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah.
2 points for Chris
King.
there. What did you say?
King.
Nope, Bruce.
It escapes me. It's like, is it double barreled?
Yes.
It's double
It's double
barreled.
barreled, but
Nah, I can't get it. I knew it's double barreled.
La Domus.
Le Domar.
Aye,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah.
And where am I going next, Bruce?
It's
No,
my
Bruce,
question.
yeah.
It's the last question.
All right. Okay.
Harriet and Michael are a married couple in which comedy?
Harriet and Michael. Oh, Harriet and Michael. Now, Harriet should stand out to me. We don't get too many Harriets. Which comedy? We've already had that. Me, Myself, and Irene. Let's go. OG.
It is not Me, Myself, and Irene, Chris.
Orbs.
It's not the Burbs.
Good shout though.
It was So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh, that's what it
Oh.
was. Yeah.
So there you go. Total up the scores. I don't know if we need a tiebreaker.
No, I've won 6-3 in the
There we go.
end. I made a decision towards the end. I wasn't going to guess any Till Death Do Us. I wanted to keep my
I know,
points.
that's why I waited till Andrew finished the question. I was till you, and I was just sitting there going, that's Till Death Do Us.
I mean, the Holly Gennaro one was
Giving away
spectacular.
Holly
Oh my
was.
god! Like I knew, I had the name as soon as you said Holly. I knew it was Holly Gennaro.
Just the fact you called her
I knew
like
that
dead
different
well.
surname.
I feel like you
even
were.
said John McClane. I was like, oh, people die.
It was as if you buzzed in. You were like, I know the answer. I'm going to buzz in by saying Till Death Do Us. Right. Anyway, quiz is over. That was complicated, but I think we actually followed quite a lot.
And then obviously the lucrative tie into this Slither was she kept saying Till Death Do Us part and marriage
Yes,
and stuff
exactly.
like
Yeah.
that. So.
Very good. Okay, on to point 6 then. Time for Chris to redeem himself with the 10-Point Podcast universe.
I don't know if I did actually. There's only one person I think needs to come back. There's Elizabeth Banks, who was Scarlet, who's in Catch Me If You Can, as Lucy. But I think that's it.
There's one more. I had a look, and I cannot help explain who he is. DJ Jackson played Dwight in this. I don't know if he was a police officer or a townsperson or whatever, but he was in Slither. He played a burly, as in like a burly, big orderly in Look Who's Talking.
Was he uncredited?
I don't believe uncredited
that-
was next to his name. I could be wrong. I'll
No,
have
not
a look.
I don't know. I didn't go through him.
He's not uncredited for Slither, certainly. But he played an orderly in I'm assuming in the hospital. Look Who's Talking. But that was I went all the way through everybody. So yeah, Elizabeth Banks. I can't even remember her in Catch Me If You Can. Who was she in Catch Me?
She
If
was
You
the
One's
bank
like, oh,
killer.
look, there's a bit of paper. And
Ah.
she waves it at me.
She had her titties out.
Can? That's right. Working in the bank. Okay, Chris, have you recast us into the film?
I did. Like, I really tried to make Andrew Fillion because he loves him so much. But there was a moment from the mayor in the back of the police car where he has a meltdown at the lack of Mr. Pip. And I was like, when the shit's got in the fam, I can see like Andy's like, where's the fucking Mr. Pip? So, Pip.
Yep.
Pib, yeah. I had Andy as the
Yes.
mayor as well, but from the
and there's-
other road rage at the beginning was very him just going
Slightly-
beep, get out of the way. That's what I was like. That's like 1 minute into the film. I was like, right, Andy's the mayor, and that's that casting stayed.
This is going to make me sound really, really bad. Here, I'm the school kid who is not the hot teacher.
Right, okay.
There's a few hot teachers when I was at school, and that's literally what I did.
You did. Imagine if Elizabeth Banks was our teacher, though. Jesus hell.
I'll save my Chris casting to when he's finished.
And I almost made. Well, you were about to be the James Gunn character, Hank the teacher, but then you said that you're now Wally, the guy
Yeah,
who's going to
Wally.
the guns.
Yeah.
So I'll make him.
I'll be Wally. At one point, I did have me and Chris as Wally and what's his name, Bill, in the car, and that was going to be us. But I thought it didn't quite fit. But there was one scene where Nathan Fillion radios Shelby, Jenna Fisher, and her
I was going to
attitude.
make for me because I nodded when I'm on the phone.
I was going to say she's exactly my energy 100%. So I was like, I need to be her. So I thought I will gender swap Chris as well, and I can see Chris. I bet Chris either really, really enjoys or despises the whole idea of having a good long soak in the bath, so he could be Kylie.
Baths.
Okay.
On a shower
So,
curtain.
so I thought that's a reason that Chris can hate being in the bath for a long time, can be because there's little slugs in there.
I'm doing attacked by a slug.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Andy,
so
have
funny.
you done
Like I
any
say,
casting?
I was going to say, just before we carry on, it's so funny when Chris talks. It sounds like he's on a go slow at the moment.
Yes. It's tough to have a conversation with him when his lips and the sound aren't matching at all.
So we apologise for any of things. I think he's buffering some porn or
I was
something.
thinking something was going on because you kept talking and every now and again Bruce would go like that to listen. So
You're basically like you're slow in your words.
Yeah. Andy, what about you recasting wise?
Well, once again, this is one of these films where I'll try to put it in who would play a modern version of this, which you could pretty much keep the same cast because it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
However, if I had to go back, I'll go back. So before like Nathan Fillion and all that exists, I think a young Tom Cruise in this film. Like, so if we did this in the kind of 90s and all that, you have Tom Cruise and Nathan Fillion, and then Michael Rooker could have still played it. However, Arnie.
Arnie.
I
Yeah.
reckon Arnie in full prosthetic, because when he was talking and kind of going like this, he was like, either
him
Sylvester
as
Stallone or
Michael
Arnie, I would say is Michael Rooker's character. I think that would work.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tom Cruise. I'm going to say Tom Cruise versus Arnold Schwarzenegger in Slither.
Maybe even in '95, Tom Cruise would probably insist on being more heroic and changing the script around, though. That's
He might have got a motorbike though.
Yeah, we've got more
I
bike
was
with the
just gonna say.
Yeah. Okay then, so I've returned to my roots with this one. I did a bit of research and also a bit of that blatantly a reference. So this is a long list of things that were intentionally referenced by Slither. Dr. Dolittle, they just said that. But other than that, Rosemary's Baby, The Shining, Student Bodies, Deadly Blessing, The Evil Dead, The Thing, Videodrome, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Fly, From Beyond, The Predator, The Blob, Tremors, The Crying Game, that was the karaoke, Dawn of the Dead, and Serenity. They were all directly, intentionally referenced in this film, most of which I picked up on. And my new criteria: Dead Man Walking. Having never seen this before, Michael Rooker was a dead cert the first time I saw him. I didn't know he was going to be the villain. I didn't know he was going to be like, I thought this was about little bugs, not necessarily. But I thought the first moment I saw Michael Rooker's Dead Man Walking turned out to be true. Could this have come out in 1995? Absolutely could have done, because it's made as if it could have come out in it. Like, it's made like a 1995 horror film, and he's just cast it for us. So that's perfect. Who's in the wrong film? I think the Strutermeyer family, as in the family at the firehouse, the family at the farmhouse. That's a different film. Like, it's the poster artwork.
Yeah.
But Kylie's just like a hanger-on for the rest of the time she's in the film. She even gets like thrown into the corner of the room for the big finale, and then we never see her until it's all over with. So she's totally in a different film. So the whole family is a different film that's interrupted. And what happens next? Surely the FBI closed the entire town down, deny the whole thing happened, and the three survivors get silenced. I would say is probably.
Did you not watch the post-credit scene?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, like, obviously that happens. But yeah, I like we've got a cat now roaming the earth. But
Chris didn't say. He looked confused.
Oh, there's a post-credit.
I did actually have to go back.
You have to go back and watch it.
This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all over again.
The whole town is getting wiped off the map. That town won't exist in a month's time. It'll be gone. So
Silent Hill style.
Silent Hill style, exactly. Yeah, very much like Hellmouth opened up there. Point 7 on the podcast: tropes that need to die. Chris, this is your segment.
Yeah, I've changed it to tropes, horror movie tropes that need to die.
Right.
So for this one, falling over when running.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but in horror films, ladies can't run.
I had that written because as Kylie does, doesn't she? Just walking along, and all of a sudden she just goes, oh, just throws herself down.
I think Starla does it just after the big blobs. That big blob scene, she just falls over and has to get her mouth covered.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I don't know what it is about horror films. Ladies just can't run. They're tripping over thin air.
The legs just give out on them at one point. What about you, Andy? What's your trope?
Mine is unnecessary bath scenes. Like, okay, it was a good shot, but really, they just like all the camera crew and James Gunn just got her in a bathtub just to see her naked.
Again, I think it's purely just for this will sell some tickets to teenagers who'll come and see this film.
Yeah.
My trope needs to die, and this is one I'm stoutly in favour of: hive minds and movies where you have to kill the queen so that everything dies. It seems like an easy reset button for like a plot of a film. So, oh damn, we've gone too far. Well, we'll just kill that one, and all the rest will die, and everything go back to normal again. So that needs to go.
It's when they kill the hive mind and they all come back to life like as nothing ever happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, see, what I would actually like with a hive mind film would be like the hive mind to like the things, but then it's like they're like, oh, right, we don't know what to do now, and then they just kind of become mindless drones that you can program and do what you want. So they're like blank slates.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, on to point 8 on the podcast, our nominations for the 10-Point Podcast Awards. Chris, why don't you lead us off?
Oh yeah, best actor I put the Fillion. Best badass I put the Fillion.
I would argue with the badass. I don't think it is a badass. That's kind of the point I was making before. I would have best cop. I've got him as best
definitely
cop.
Best cop, yeah.
Best cop. I'm not sure. I don't think he's a badass. I don't think he fits the criteria as badass.
The Fillion is a badass.
See, I would go best.
I'm just talking about the Fillion in general.
But I would go for best actor as Michael Rooker in this one.
I would agree.
By Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, the two of them are
Okay.
definitely ahead of Fillion, but I would go Michael Rooker, probably because it was harder for him to act.
Yeah.
Right. My biggest bell end was the mayor.
Yep.
Best
Well,
villain was
again,
Grant Grant.
see, I've got the mayor as best villain because I enjoyed him the most as being a villain because I didn't find him that much like he was enjoyable as a bell end. I feel like we've kind of in the past
Yeah.
separated biggest bell end is most annoying person
Yeah.
and then best villain is the best annoying person, if you know what I'm saying. But I'll happily give him biggest
I
bell
don't
end.
really see he was a villain in this though. He's just a dick.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
we'll change the best bell end
Fair enough.
because Grant was the villain.
Yes, yes.
My best death was the guy behind you, Bruce, getting split in half.
Yep, undoubtedly the best death. Split vertically, was got sliced in half the long way.
Yeah.
My biggest jump scare was the dog falling in the basement. Completely
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
about
Oh
the
yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
just drops dead. Scared as
There was a
shit.
couple. There was a couple of points where I thought you were going to shit yourself.
That was the only bit. The dog. My best special effects. I put Brenda, but the now thing about it is probably what's his face, Grant.
I think it probably is Blob Grant. Yes, I think so.
The worst special effects was the mass swelling at the end and the explosion.
Oh, this is so funny.
It's slowing down in the middle
He's
of the
slowing down to like a grind. Stop
yeah.
buffering porn.
It's like it's nothing fucking wrong.
Yes, I'd agree. The explosions weren't the best at the end. I'll go with that.
Okay. My Diane John Jules was Jenna Fisher.
Yep, same. Completely out of the blue. I was like, oh my god, it's Pam. Being a receptionist again.
My best line, I put just as he sees the blob, Nathan Fillion says, "Well, now that is some fucked up shit."
I had that written down, but I think I put that. It'll work for best line, but I did it as what the hell is it? Best reaction apparently is an award we had, and I thought that was a good reaction to what he'd seen in front of him. But yeah, best line will do if you like.
Bill's best call. My best song was "Baby I Love You" by the Yahoos. The song at the very end.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they said now, but it's like
James Gunn knows how to put a soundtrack together.
that's where some of the swearing came from a counter as
Yeah.
well, because it's still happening on screen. Like there's still something happening. Yeah, I enjoyed that song. I forgot to look it up, so yeah, I'll go with that.
I put best costume as Grant, but that's
Yeah.
also special effects. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to double nominate it.
The most pornographic was a cheeky wee nip slip in the bath.
I don't know if Game of Thrones have taught us anything. Foot fetishes are back.
I mean, there's probably actually maybe not as literally as pornographic, but the implication of a lot of the alien insemination, I don't call it that, it was very pornographic.
Oh yeah, that woman like when she's getting impregnated, she just had a massive orgasm on the sofa for
Yeah,
5
I think
minutes.
that'd be more pornographic than a cheeky wee
The
nip
belly
slip.
thing freaked me out. The most annoying kid was the cute zombie girls.
Oh, they're terrifying.
I don't know what it is with zombie, like ghost kids and zombie kids freaked me out.
Yeah.
Ghost kids are the worst, yeah. Ooh.
But yeah, that's me.
Not you? Right, I'm going to leave that. That's my favourite one, so I'm leaving that to the end. So I'll work my way backwards. I've got most obvious name as Grant, as in the Grant family calling their son Grant. However, Grant is still the best character name, so I'm nominated for that as well.
I think this had the best character name.
What else have we got? Best supporting. I put Greg Henry as the mayor as best supporting actor because I think he did.
Yeah.
Like he hit 100 out of 100 with what he had to do in his role. Like everything was perfect what he did in his role. Best product placement, Andy. Did you have one for this?
I only had Budweiser. It was the only thing I've seen.
I went Mr. Pibb, but I don't know if they paid for it. I don't know if that was like a joke or
Right.
an actual product
Yeah.
placement. But yeah, Budweiser would probably be the better option, I think. Best Jimmy, James Gunn. He is in the film, so I'm giving him Best Jimmy.
Yeah.
And where are we? So the one I wait to the end. Best cameo. I'm assuming Chris noticed this. I don't know if Andy's aware of it. Did you see who played the role of the doctor on the other end of the phone when she phones up the doctor to find out?
Yeah, I know who it was.
That was Rob Zombie played the
Yeah.
doctor on the other end of the phone. I was like, what the hell? Why Rob Zombie? Well, apparently he was the doctor. Apparently he's in lots of James Gunn stuff. It's Rob Zombie. Something I'd missed out on. Andy, that's the end for me. Any nominations from you?
The only one I would throw in with best cameo would be the other Gunn. What do you call him? He was
Sean Gunn? Was he in it?
Sean Gunn. He was one of the guys just like doing the voice work with next to what do you call him?
Oh right, well part of the extended.
Yeah. There was the woman that did the talking, but then he's like right next to Michael Rooker, just being like the thingy skinny guy.
I didn't even notice him. That's a good one.
Yeah. But obviously back then he would have been literally a nobody. It's only because of Guardians of the Galaxy. But when I went back, it's like, oh, it's him as well.
Yeah,
So both guns are in
I
this.
never noticed that.
That's good. Very good. Missed him.
But yeah, other than that, best inanimate object, the hairbrush.
Hairbrush. Yeah, good. Good. Yeah, very good. Okay, that's us. On to point 9 then. Point 9 is our moral of the story. I know Chris was struggling to come up with his one, so I'll start off with my one. Moral of the story. Don't touch deer feces and eat a sandwich without washing your hands. It's the moral of the story. Andy, what was your moral of the story?
I was just going to pretty much the same thing as don't poke weird shit.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. And Chris, what's your moral?
Oh, both yours are better. Mine's is no good ever comes from going into a basement.
Yeah, that's true. I can't think of anything good. Okay, on to point 10. Point 10 is the 10-point rating. Andy, you picked the film this week. You get to rate it first.
Basically, I'm going to sum this up with this film is like bizarre, batshit crazy at times,
Here's
gruesome, all over the shop, scary at times. It's like it's a film that doesn't know what it is. However, they all seem to work together, and it's a film that I've always loved. So there's nothing else to say other than I guess a 7.
A 7 from Andy. Chris, I've got you next because you've seen it.
It's a perfect good horror film. It's like overly gory. It's got jump scares. It's got a bit of suspense to it. But like the few of the things that we've seen, like the taglines, it's been a comedy. It wasn't funny at all. Everything's like an homage to other horror films that we've all seen done better and done. It gets a 4 for me.
4 from Chris.
Oh, you
I
fucking
can't tell if Chris is
savage.
actually slowing down now. It sounds like it's him that's.
Yeah, I think he's
slowing
slurring now.
Having never seen it before, went into it with some preconceptions to find out that a lot of them were misconceptions. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I don't think I like the film. Like, I'm not like, oh yes, Slither. But I also can't fault the film. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. There's no low points. I had one low point, which was a storyline problem I was going to have, and they paid it off in the way that I liked. But I'm not like I like this film, so I have to give it a 6 because it's good, but I don't necessarily like it. So it's a high end of the middle ground. So 6 is perfectly fine. Would watch again. Not excited about watching again, but I'm going to land in a 6. So that means it's that. I think that actually gives it a 6 overall. So the official 10-point podcast rating is a 6 out of 10 for Slither, which I think is pretty much nailed on for what it should be. It's a good B movie, which is not an easy thing to come by. So I think I know what Andy's theme is, although he's already now convinced me that I don't know what it is. Chris was going to try and beat me to the punch. So Chris, what's Andy's theme on 3 movies that are Slither, Evolution, and Prey? Are the 3?
I was going to say Aliens.
No.
Well, my pick was It Came from Outer Space, was what my theory was.
That is literally the one I thought you were thinking, like asteroids or like, because even at the start of Prey, it's just like a big thing coming right at the start.
Yeah, all 3 films basically start the same.
No, it is not my intention. It is not aliens and things that come from outer space.
Right, okay.
That is not the theme. However, that theme does perfectly fit so far. With
absolutely. Like, you've managed to accidentally pick 3 films that start identically. It's quite
yes. Completely by accident. So
I didn't think any further than that because I thought I did think it was very limiting that you would pick that as a theme for all of your things. But if it's literally what they were, they're all exactly that.
That was completely by coincidence.
Okay then. Chris is still pondering.
He's still thinking.
No, I thought I had one there. Like if people getting impregnated with aliens, but there's not one in Prey, so it doesn't matter.
You don't know. She might have banged that Predator at some stage.
Well, we do know. We saw the film.
You know what happens afterwards.
We'd better go on with next week. Normally, I need to buy a bit of time at this point. We have The Wheel next, but it's our horror movie spectacular month.
This is the first time you guys are seeing what he's picked.
Right, so this is, again, we've gone to Sean's massive long list of recommendations. We're getting an extra Sean pick this season. So, Andy, do you want to explain what's on the wheel? Because you had to make an amendment, I believe.
Right, so this is Sean's top horror picks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's no way he picked that one.
Right, so there's one of them I added in because he'd already picked one. He put Cabin in the Woods, which we've already done.
Twice.
Has he got Saw twice, has he? Oh, he's got Saw twice.
Well,
so
we could do Saw 1 or Saw 2, depending on...
yeah. He's doubling his odds by putting Saw, because this is just a copy and paste. But yeah, one of them I added in is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I thought so, yeah.
It's apparently it's another B movie that everybody raves about, and it's got a video game coming out. So I thought, yeah, Sean's never watching that. We'll put that on the wheel since he fucked up. So if it lands on one of the two saws,
We'll just do Saw, I guess.
we'll do Saw. And then the only other thing he said about this wheel is anything else is the original. So it is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It
Right,
is the
okay.
original Scream.
It is pretty much the OG horror movies of the last
Yeah.
100 years, isn't it? So it's
Yeah.
quite a good selection in there.
So right, let's spin this wheel and see what we're watching next week.
And
Here we
as
go.
I suspected, carry on spinning it, Andy. I'll talk over the top of it.
Go
As
on,
I
we're spinning.
suspected, the my next pick is on this wheel.
Right.
So
Here we go. What are we going to get? We're slowing down. We're slowing down. Oh,
I'm gonna say Halloween.
it's going to do it. It's going to
Oh, it's
do
gonna
it.
Shining.
It
and of
is.
course, it lands on what my next pick was going to be. The bastard.
Amazing. There we go. It's the Shining.
So yay, the Shining.
Shining.
That gives me a month now to try and pick another film to do. I might just move up what my next pick was going to be, actually, now I think about it. The Shining. I was going to pick it for no reason. I don't have a theme. So Sean has picked it for us. A good pick. Jack Nicholson stars in Stanley Kubrick's horror movie from 1980, I believe. What I was going to do when I picked it, I will do now for this week, is I'm going to watch a documentary called Room 2, is it
Oh,
237?
Yeah.
About all of the conspiracy theories and stuff behind the movie The Shining as well. So I'll bring that extra knowledge bombs because I own that DVD of that documentary. So
I've watched the Zach Bagans episode where they go to the hotel where this is based on.
The Shining is a very popular, well-respected and often talked about film. So that's Sean's pick for next week. So everybody has The Shining defined. Much easier, I would imagine. It'll at least be on one streaming service this October, I would imagine.
Be somewhere.
Exactly, I do as well. And we'll see you next time on the 10 Point Podcast for The Shining.